Episode 206 is entitled Smallfolk. The camera is constantly circling characters to give the sense that this world is turning very slowly amidst this battle between the blacks and the greens.
In a way, it's a boiling over of all of these things that have been simmering for so long.
He dares to summon me with haste.
I find Aemon to be one of the most interesting characters. He's driven by a very cold rationality. Aegon makes choices out of fear or anger, whereas Aemon's revenge will always be served cold.
Aegon has so many people constantly trying to puppeteer him. It's Larys, or it's Alicent, or it was Otto, whereas now we've got Aemon. He's very difficult to manipulate.
In a state of war, he's gonna fight, just like Daemon.
My uncle is a challenge I welcome, if he dares face me.
I think Aemon is obsessed with Daemon in a way. I think he grew up in Daemon's shadow and hearing about the mystique of him. Aemon has spun Daemon up into being this rival to his and also somebody that he wants to emulate and then probably kill one day.
Mother, a word.
I think Aemon genuinely sees Alicent as no more than his mother and a woman, so why would she be on the small council?
Aemon sees the world in a very black and white way. We've always talked about Aemon as being the ultimate pragmatist. So he is not banishing his mother from the council out of cruelty. It's very simply like, I'm sorry, what is it that you do here and what's your role?
You serve the realm well. At a time of need. That need is ended. So long as he's seen as this indestructible, horror icon-esque, Terminator-like figure, he'll be forever all-powerful.
Have the indignities of your childhood not yet sufficiently been avenged? She tries to penetrate whatever heart he has left, but it's to no avail.
Sir Stephen Darklin, Your Grace.
I need more dragon riders.
Who could do it?
You.
I think it's an act out of desperation of Rhaenyra's because she realizes she's never going to have the Ground Army. She doesn't know how Daemon is going to break. And even if the Riverlanders do go her way, they're still weeks away by March. She takes another one of these pretty outlandish but understandable risks in trying to put Stephen Darklin on a dragon.
Perhaps the gods will favor us.
The first part of this journey is kind of an act of magical thinking. And I don't think it's that pragmatic. I think it's based on faith. This is part of the sort of fanaticism that we start to see her exhibit.
It's a very dangerous thing to do because you suddenly take the idea of Targaryen superiority as dragon riders and you give it to anyone that has Targaryen blood. So you sort of democratize riding a dragon.
It is a risk to life and limb, but on the other side of it, it means being written into the history books. Darklin gets intoxicated by that idea and doesn't think about the possible consequences, which, sadly, are quickly visited upon him.
Rhaenyra's last-ditch idea literally goes up in flames.
There is not food enough in the city. The people are hungry, and their anger is rising. I think Larys is smart enough to try and warn Aemon that people are hungry. And when people are hungry, they become desperate. When people become desperate, things happen.
I think Larys is suggesting this in an effort to become the Hand. And he wants to show Aemon that he has an understanding of what's happening.
Send word to Otto Hightower.
Your Grace.
His Grace, the King, has regained consciousness this morning.
What happy news?
Aemon has had to accept the fact that his brother survived, and he now has to deal with that, but I don't think Aemon is looking to give up his regency anytime soon either.
Ad hoc, he is the king, and of course you'd want to hold on to that.
Aegon is in grave danger. Now Aemon's, prowling around the castle. He's always had these suspicions of Aemon, but never really taken them too seriously. He wants to be in that position more than Aegon ever did.
Seems my brother has a long recovery ahead of him, Grand Maester. If Aegon was to fully recover and he was to tell people what Aemon did, that puts Aemon's newfound position in jeopardy. And so, he's a major threat at this point.
It's getting pretty restless in the streets of King's Landing, and I think all the sympathy that they gained after Jaehaerys' death, a lot of that has been spent. You have people who are scared and sick and hungry, and when the masses get restless, they point at the person in the highest levels of power and they blame them.
You, where'd you get that food? Gifts from the Queen. She thinks of us even now.
I think the people at King's Landing have learned by now. The people in charge are only going to give them what they have to. I don't think they're stupid, and I think that's what happens. I think the aristocracy undermine people as a collective. Whoever's going to supply them and save them from the famine is the person they're going to choose to be in charge.
Aemon's downfall is that he doesn't understand the power of the Smallfolk. Rhaenyra, through Miss Arya, comes to understand this.
She knows what makes them tick. She's one of them, and not just how to win their hearts, but actually what they really need.
Miss Arya is giving Rhaenyra that layer that she's not getting from anybody else in their council, which is, how do I, from so far away on this literal island on Dragonstone, touch and affect King's Landing?
And in this war, that psychological battle is very important.
Your Graces, we must leave.
Alicent goes through this whole experience in this episode of having all these layers of her family slowly stripped away from her. Her father is gone and missing, and her son might not survive his wounds. Cole is off on the march. Aemond is a monster, and she goes to the Sept to find comfort. And even that is not a sanctuary for her.
There's the Queen of Fishes!
There's a blockade. There's no food. The Smallfolk are starving, and so there's no wonder that they see the royals come in their cart and all their finery, and it's such a slap in the face to them. It's very Marie Antoinette, let them eat cake. It's cause for revolt.
The effects of Aegon and now Aemon's reign have bubbled over and nearly take her and Helena's life.
It is as we hoped, a warning to the usurpers that you have strength beyond what they accredited.
It's been such an interesting part of this series for me, understanding that relationship. You watch two people who are deeply suspicious of one another develop a form of trust.
Their relationship has found a dynamic which is not dissimilar to how they first met, which was this kind of open frankness and honesty and really taking each other at face value.
In many ways, she is the off-council hand of Rhaenyra.
I think Miss Arya's power increases in Rhaenys' absence because I think Rhaenyra is desperate in looking for that sympathetic female voice in her life.
Within a patriarchal structure, they underestimate both of us, really.
I believe you are meant to be queen.
And to what extent is there a degree of threat in watching two women begin to guide the path to war?
Your Grace, the Dragon Sea Smoke has been sighted. He has a rider.
Sea Smoke has been claimed, and she needs to go find out who, leaving the audience wondering what's going to happen next.